I'm Rebecca Sales, and this is my presentation on the digestive system. During this presentation, I'll be taking you through how the digestive system works, and hopefully by the end of the presentation you'll have a basic understanding of the following areas that I'm going to cover. So the structures and functions of the digestive system, the processes of mechanical and chemical digestion, the optimal conditions for enzymes, and the constituent food groups of a balanced diet and their sources. The first stage of the digestive system is the mouth. So the food is firstly broken down into the mouth through chewing. Saliva mixes the food through mastication and passes it to the esophagus when swallowing. The saliva contains an enzyme called ptyalin, which starts the digestion of starchy foods. Once the food is received in the pharynx, it closes the larynx and pushes the food into the esophagus, which runs to the stomach. Liquid and semi-solids that are left slide down through gravity by peristalsis to the liver. The next stage is the stomach, which is positioned in the upper left quadrant. So the lower esophageal sphincter is a muscle that contracts and relaxes in order to control the flow of food into the stomach. This also prevents stomach juices from flowing back into the esophagus. The stomach churns up the food with gastric juices, which allows the food particles to break down. The gastric juice is produced by the stomach glands, and these juices are made up of water, hydrochloric acid, mineral salts and enzymes. It takes around 2.4 hours for a meal to digest in the stomach before passing on to the small intestine. So then that takes to the next stage, which is the intestines. So the small intestine is where most of the digestion and absorption takes place. There are three parts, which are the duodenum, jejunum and ileum. The alkaline is created in the duodenum, then moved along and mixed with pancreatic and intestinal juices until digestion is complete. The product at the end is then absorbed through the villi, and residue then goes into the large intestine. The large intestine absorbs vitamins and converts the food in feces and removes the water from the feces. The caecum mixes chyme with good bacteria that is made up of 4 sections: the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon and the sigmoid. The rectum is right at the end of the digestive system and is a temporary site for the feces, which then go through to the anal canal, which is where the digestive system ends and the feces exit here. The 4 sections that I mentioned are here. So the ascending colon starts the process of removing the nutrients and water. The transverse colon is the longest, most movable part. The descending colon stores the feces that will later be emptied by the rectum, and the sigmoid contracts to increase pressure on the colon, causing the feces to pass into the rectum. The liver also has a role to play in aiding the digestive process. So it's located just below the diaphragm where the bile is produced, and the bile is made up of water, bile salts, cholesterol and pigment bilirubin. It leaves the liver through the bile ducts and into the gallbladder, which is where the bile is stored when not being used, and is then released into the small intestine when it's needed. There are 2 different types of digestion which take place, which are mechanical and chemical. The chemical digestion is where the enzymes are released into the saliva, which help to moisten the food to make it easier for swallowing. A digestive enzyme called amylase in saliva is used to break down the starch into sugars in the mouth. The food then passes through the digestive tract, where the muscle contraction helps the movement of the broken down food into smaller pieces. The large macronutrient food molecules need to be broken down, so the structures within the digestive system release the enzymes to speed up the reaction within the body's cells. Enzymes are very important to digestion as they break down the food molecules into smaller units and help aid absorption and speed up the process of digestion. They're all just like a key which unlocks specific nutrients, and each enzyme works on a specific nutrient. In mechanical digestion, this is just where the teeth break down the food into more digestible pieces through chewing. You can see here there are 5 food groups which make up a balanced diet. So they're meat and fish, bread, cereal and potatoes, fruit and vegetables, milk and dairy, and fats and sugars in food and drink. The first group of foods are a source of protein, which you find in meat, and you get things such as iron and zinc from them. From fish you can get omega-3, which protects the body from problems with health such as heart disease. In the second group, they're a source of carbohydrates which fuel the energy, concentration, muscles and strength. Group 3 foods produce fibre, which is important to help with the digestion and antioxidants, although it is recommended to consume 5 a day for the right amount. The group 4 foods are a huge source of calcium, which helps strengthen the bones, and the group 5 foods will only need to be consumed in moderation due to their high fats and sugars. The specialists say the best way to follow this is to use the Eat Well plate, as you can see here to the left, which is showing how much of each food group you should consume. So that was my presentation. Thank you for listening.